Hello, welcome to this really short video. I'm not sure what I'm going to title it yet, but I was finishing my Saints and Angels typical Friday reading and just putting my deck away, and second time that I've been prompted with this card to speak my truth. And I have a couple of videos in the works right now that I have not put up yet because they're on topics of truth that are difficult to talk about. And I am going to be bringing forth a few things that are hard to speak on in the videos to come. So I wanted to put out a little preliminary disclaimer. I've done these sort of spiritual disclaimer videos before, but this, I feel, is a deeper layer and also a more translucent one, if that makes any sense. I have to really showcase and expose myself in a way that I'm not typically used to, and that is really kind of difficult for me. One of my weaker points. What do I mean by that exactly? There's I could blame it or excuse it away or justify it or say it's numerology, it's astrology, it's nature, it's nurture, it's the way I was raised, it's my character, it's my personality, it's the where I was born. All of these different kind of, like I said, excuses, justifications. They're relevant to a certain degree, but only really to a certain degree, right? And so I really want to hold that small amount of validity and weight across everything, and offer out, sort of in plain language, without sort of the esoteric consciousness kind of metaphysical words. Point blank is that I can come off as a know-it-all sometimes. I love information, I love to learn, and I like a variety of information, and I particularly need a lot of different forms of confirmation and approaches and methods available to me, and I need to see something from many angles in order to get it. Sometimes I say like I'm the stupidest smart person, and I used to say that a lot when I was younger. I got away from negative talk and having negative critiques about myself many years ago, but that used to be kind of like the way I would explain it to people, after, and it's very still true, except I just choose not to really use that language because language is so fundamental, it's so personal, so triggering sometimes. It's difficult. It makes it difficult to speak truth. It makes it difficult to explain ourselves. But right. And point being with this video is that I'm trying to explain here and say that I'm going to be talking about things I don't know a lot about sometimes. And that is a hard thing for me because, like I said, I'm kind of like a know-it-all sometimes. And my regular demeanor, my regular speech, the way that I talk and I hold myself and carry myself is one who is well-rounded, well-knowledgeable, and it also comes from this background that I really try to break myself out of. I don't like to honor these kind of more negative traits and tricks of myself, because I've come out of mind control in that academia penguin suit world, of really, and I don't want to get myself back into it either, you know. So it's such a tightrope walk that I talk about all the time. I just want to be knowing and showing that I am as honestly portraying this stuff as I can, and yet I still want to talk about things that I don't know a lot about. I'm not, and I want right up front here to say that I don't know a lot about this stuff. I know very little about it, and in fact, so I might be making tons of mistakes. I might sound stupid. I will, in fact, sound like a complete beginner, and I'm not even trying to teach any sort of tradition or religion or anything like that. And even in the metaphysical concept, I might have more of a better base knowledge of the more kind of mainstreamy educational angles, theories, and conversations that go along with astrology, numerology, even cosmology, and into physics and into astronomy, and starting to talk about quantum physics and the different ways mathematics intermingles with that, and music and art, and you know, all of these kind of fundamental things that should be fundamental learning for basic humans, but we've been robbed of that, and we've been forced into stupid core learning with to work to be worker drones, industrialized worker drone learners. But if we had been, you know, base knowledge learning the fundamentals of life, we would know the basics of the fundamentals of all this sort of esoteric mystery school stuff. But more and more of us are getting the base knowledge of that. It's becoming more obvious in present day, right? And so that has come, me on that knowledge base has made me into a point of, I feel, of more on the adept sort of eternal student layer level in that realm. But there's plenty of realms that I'm a beginner, very much so in. And I'm about to be making videos and things that I'm very much a beginner in. And it's such a, oh, do I know enough? Oh, I'm going to sound stupid. Oh, do I have a right to make videos like this? Oh, should I even have a conversation about that? You know? And we all go through things like this. And I've been through tons of different ways in a smaller categories and concepts that I'm about to take on. Because I really want to take on Jesus Christ, and I'd really like to talk about Christianity, and I'd really like to talk about Christ consciousness and the second coming, and the awakening of Christ that's happening and that has happened within me. It's happened within so many of us. So many people have their own personal, wonderful stories of this. It's nothing new or great. Even in fact, you know, it is a general thing that can happen to everyone, but in the happening to you is what makes it so personal and great, makes it so potent, makes you want to get out and share it and know that others have had it for themselves too, and can and will and want to. And for me, I am coming at this with the Bible at a secondary learning tool, where my truth and my inner teachings have been the primary and will remain to be the primary and have always been. And the Bible, all these, I've read so many other books as well. I've never read the Bible. This is another thing when it's me stepping back into this beginner's realm and into this weird area here. I feel like an outsider and feel like, and this is also because, no offense to anybody who's an insider over there and is part of Badge Christianity clubs or church club or Catholicism even, I'm not even quite sure of all of the distinct differences in here. I don't know. All of it. I'm learning. I have been learning a little bit, and this is why now I'm making the videos, because at least I have sort of a malleable, tangible knowledge base of sort of some of the working things, and I'm desiring more. I want to learn more of the vocabulary. I want to understand more of what the inner circle knowledge is, because some of it I translate and I see it is truth. and it has echoes, reflections, parallels, and metaphors, and tons of other things that I've already read, seen, been exposed to, different timelines, traditions, completely different scenarios and situations, but yet are similar teachings and are similar truths. So that's why and where I'm coming from this kind of, and I'm going to be having these videos from that sort of place. And that in itself is kind of, because I'm nervous, I'm going to have trolls, or people are going to be upset, or that there will be nobody who even wants to look at it in that angle. There's only people who want to just look at it in that prescribed, really strict traditional versions. And while I honor and respect that, and I do see that as valid learning, I myself just know I don't fit in that. I'm like trying to fit a dodecahedron into that little kid's square shape. It doesn't even fit the parameters. So hoping that these things resonate with others, hoping that it makes sense to some people out there, that some people might be interested in hearing and having some conversations about these kind of topics, like the second coming and like awakening Christ consciousness, and what that means for us, what the journey means to be on that real path with Him. And I might even want to use that sort of sometimes. I like that kind of reference, but I don't want to offend others. And I also don't want to put off this over-the-top, to me, unreal expectations or version that, like, I have this external channel open that is this something it's not, because I don't have that. And while I honor and respect that others out there may have and may really be in touch with and create communion spaces and connection with true external, whether imagination, 5D, 3D, all, experiences, and go places and do all these kind of different real embodiments of that. My core connections, my teachings, and interminglings that I feel are connected in a different way and come from and through a filter which is unique to me and myself and my experience here. And so I don't and cannot and won't claim ownership to the teachings, the original truths that come through. I claim ownership to the filtration that I'm creating, the distortions, the way I talk it out and try to explain what I'm getting, because I know for a fact that it's a tap into something external that is a greater understanding than my consciousness is grabbing. And I work my hardest to explain that in a way that I can. But to me, when I don't want to put off a thing like I have seen with others out there, and maybe they're not either, and maybe they just haven't explained to themselves completely. This is what I'm doing this sort of like to do this transparency thing about, first and foremost, because maybe others just don't take the time to do that, or it isn't common practice before, and sort of the magician showcase of what the woo-woo world considers to be like new age, considered to be these psychics and mediums. They don't want to reveal their secrets or whatever it is. Like, I don't find any sort of truth in that world. I know that it is a true happening in world, but I just don't jive with it, and I try not to get in there. And what I'm trying to do right now is just showcase that and let people know, like, I am trying to do something different. I'm trying not to cascade out a bunch of lies and just portray out things that are not true. And yeah, but by honoring that truth, then I really do have to kind of call things what they are. And I'm going to be calling some things what they are. And for me, my inner workings and inner teachings at points have led me to a deep external communion of input that is not a conversation and could not be asked a direct question for a direct reply at my leisure. They're impulses that are sent inwards, and yes, it's external, and from my knowledge base and understandings, and from the critiques and replies that I'm receiving, I feel it's Jesus, or Christ consciousness, but not, because I think Christ consciousness is an umbrella, or even Jesus had a partnership with Christ consciousness, and Jesus brought forth Christ consciousness, which is why he's known as Christ, an embodiment of Christ, and also why there's so much other Christ language, and Christ being such in itself a term and a tool, and not a noun and a verb. And Jesus, very unique versions. We are each all very unique versions. And the one I'm reading right now, the New Testament, is such a display, a social display of versions. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm really loving it. And so I really want to do readings on it and talk about it and share my own perspective and point of view. But it's going to be much different than the traditional. And yeah, I think it's on purpose, by purpose, for purpose, and each time that we see purpose, we should acknowledge it and discover, well, what is it and why, and how much gravity, how much momentum and energy, light and love do we really honor with this purpose when we put it in the great scope of all things, right? When we actually step back out of first-person view and we bring in the scope of the whole or great other, or even just a couple others, whatever the case is, because there's always like a spectrum of potentials of influence that are happening and that are more likely and that are more influential and impactful based on how close they are and how much we as the observer choose to give them. This is a big thing also that I'll be getting into with Christ consciousness. The power of choice is really the power of discernment and creation of thought, how we think. So I wanted to try to keep this video short, and I have done it. So thank you so much for this sort of introduction to next layer of videos. Some of them are in conjunction with my Deconstructing Distortion series that I'm putting out, and this general disclaimer, goes along with that, as well as all of the other material that I've put out on my channel always. Things that I've already done, and these new kind of topics that I'm going to come up with, or not come up with, but come up with a way to present them. I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to just read directly from the Bible where I've already started, or just read the things that I've kind of highlighted and talk about those, or if I might start a bit with talking a bit about the truth in history, place and time setting, and who the people really were at those times, and what's happening then versus what's happening now, and how, interestingly enough, many of us are starting to kind of realize and think and say contradictiveness of it, that it could be very relevant to what we're seeing now, and that the second coming is coming. And if you have got through this whole video with me, I guess then I'll leave this little tidbit of what I'm going to go into the next one about, and dive into the next sort of, might aggravate some people a little bit, video. But yeah, the second coming is coming, and it's here. And those of us who are a part of it, we feel it, we know it, we sense it. We're seeking truth. We are on the walk, like I said, whatever you call that, your highest good. You've already seen kind of some of the hurdles that we've been on the test. You've awakened to the fact that it is a journey, and it is a cross-country run event here. It's a marathon. And that we've already been on it. So owning your place and space of where you've been and your choices that you've already made, they've already been spoken for them, and you're being held accountable for them as we go here. There's no two ways about it. We skirted around the metaphorical, moral, ethic chances to learn and discern. We chose the hard way so much in the physical that we went through what we went through in 2020. A real force of tyrancy, a real external, direct embodiment of choice of harm or not. And a choice to stand up for your truth or to bend over and to crumble into shadow and lies by force, unfortunately. And we have great in the Bible such teachings on that, such displays of that when we back down to tyrancy and to have faced with great evil, and to be tempted with, and to be told that, oh, well, you will get X, Y, and Z. You will be favored. You will be special if you just do this now. But many of us said this doesn't feel right. This seems inverted and inorganic. It in fact looks like it's anti-human and hurtful towards us, harmful to humans and God, and disconnected from organic design. And we didn't want to do it, and we didn't go with it, or some of us had a couple steps, and then we've gotten really pushed, and we realized finally and ignited it. I can only speak from the first stages, as which I've been absolutely no since the start. Not a thing happening for me. I'm not even putting on one of those, and that was in 2017. With the flu shots, they started doing that, the job that I was at the hospital, and tried to force me to do this because I wouldn't do a seasonal flu shot. So I saw the slow stepping, them bringing it in, totally off topic. No, not really, because we're talking about truths. But anyways, my point in displaying here is that two things have been happening here for quite a while. And this is the second video I'm going to be talking about, and this is beautiful to see, because in the Bible is a great examples and the social showcasing of the same things happening, of the two different things happening at once. We have the apocalypse happening, the end of things, like the cities are falling apart, the cities are really disgusting, and nobody has morals or ethics in there, and they talk a lot about, Sodom and Gomorrah and all of these other kind of places, and that are, putrid and full of diseases, and also full of diseased minds and bad things happening in them too, poor souls, and just really inverted and organic stuff happening. Really negative systems have taken over, and it's all kind of falling apart, and it's really shown as the typical apocalypse theme, with the tower events and everything falling down and crumbling, and things finally falling apart, all of the bad all of the trash that's been piled up, and all the things underneath that were ignored and pushed aside, they're all finally kind of caving in on each other, and the imbalances cannot be just unseen anymore. That's a whole world in itself happening. And yet, there's a second world that is the outside in and he talks about not going near the cities and being in the fringe even there and in the woods and going to places that you knew were of the faith and that were not involved in all of that kind of negative stuff. And it's like, well, in other words, we see in the cities and all of the mainstreamy places all of a lot of really negative stuff that I don't want to be involved in. And I live on the fringe in areas and communities that don't do anything and that are aligned in a different way. And it's very split and very separate. And same thing with, the 3D, 5D split. And we've been talking, so many people in the New Age realm for years talked about that. That goes along with the older themes of 2012, the Mayan calendar, the 25,000, 75,000 year cycles, and that goes along with the huge astronomy and many ancient cultures, and the resets, the great reset cycles. So here we are at the threshold, and it's either the ending or the beginning for you. Not sorry. Either you're in the middle of the endings and you're full go, part of the apocalypse, and you're all systems go in that play and theater, or you're in the play and theater of all systems go. It's the second coming. New starts. It's the new dawn. It's the age of Aquarius and the dawn of the age of Christ consciousness. And it's so amazing, the reality and truth of that. The black and white, cut and dry, is again blown my mind. So that's it. I'm leaving my video here. I'm going to be talking more in the next videos and giving some cool sort of examples and stuff about how you can figure out, and I can, because we have this choice about whether we choose to live the apocalyptic setting or we choose to live the second coming setting, because the templates are on top of each other. They're happening all the time and intermingling. They're not literally separate in literal space. They are always a choice together. Well, they certainly are for now, and they've been doing this in the metaphysical realms. And at some point, they may even really split completely to where they are different. But I'm not quite sure. I think the densities might always be choice intermingling, and it's the soul bodies that get to make the choice to go through the settings. I'm not quite sure. But Earth herself is definitely moving into the heart center, and we are definitely in space in astronomy speaking. We see the movement, and so hearkening to truth being shown to us, I would say that that's the truth. But yeah, I'm gonna cut it there. I could just go on forever about this, but I will in the next video, showcase and talk more in depthly, and maybe give a few lines from the Bible and a few other teachings and stuff to how we can gauge within ourselves which choices we're making, to whether we're aligning with that apocalyptic theme or the second coming theme, and whether we're choosing to awaken and listen and hear clearly, as clear as we can and as honestly as we can, to the Christ consciousness within, or whether we're hiding and running from it, because that's all it is. Are you hiding and running from your truth, or are you honoring and seeking it? It's that real, and it's that simple. It's that hard and difficult, and yet it is really that easy and obvious. But it takes the time to stop and listen, and that is truly a practice in itself, to listen to your own and know what's good for you. So, thanks so much for listening to this overly long disclaimer on things to come and things that have been already. I hope by offering this out there, I can make myself a little bit more clear and also hold myself a little bit more clearly and more accountably as well. So thanks for your audience. Thanks for witnessing my journey as always. I hope you have a beautiful day or evening wherever in the world you are. I'll see you next time.